Hello, welcome to the Sewing a Clutch Bag tutorial. Today we're going to be sewing the Ida clutch, and by doing so you're going to be learning a lot of really useful sewing techniques. I hope you enjoy it. So first of all, we're going to have a look at the pattern and all the different fabrics that you're going to need. This here is a PDF pattern. It's a free downloadable pattern from Kylie and the Machine. I will put the link in the info box down the bottom. It's called the Ida clutch. There's two pattern pieces. There's a pattern piece for the outer and the lining, and also we have these interfacing pattern pieces. These are optional, but as you can see they're made so you can do a little flap on your Ida clutch. Today I'm not going to use interfacing because the fabric that I have is already quite sturdy, so it's up to you. The fabric that I have is a nice linen-y cotton, kind of a canvasy feel, not too hard, not too soft. So there's the snap placement. You can interface those separately, and that's what I'm going to do today. So that's my outer fabric, this nice green, colourful, canvasy linen type fabric. Any type of fabric is good for the outside as long as you can't really see through it. And here's the inside. I've got this apparel lining fabric that I bought for a coat. It's a really good way to use up those extra scraps that you might have lying around. So a good tip is to make sure that you iron both of your fabrics really well. Right, here's the zip. You need a 25cm zip. That's what the pattern is designed for, although it doesn't matter if your zip is a little bit longer. Also you need some snaps. Now the snaps that I've decided to use are these magnetic snaps, and they poke through the fabric and then you use this little disc to keep it on. But you can also use sew-in snaps, or the ones that you hammer in. You can find them at Spotlight. They're really easy to find, and they make it look really nice and professional to have a nice little snap in there. Okay, now that we've ironed it, it's time to cut. The fabric is folded, so when you cut you're going to be cutting two at the same time. What I've done here for this demonstration is I've done a line in chalk, and here is my rotary cutter. Now, you don't need to have a rotary cutter for this project, I just thought I'd demonstrate. The rotary cutter isn't actually my favourite thing to use. I don't find it that easy to use on fabric, but I find it really good to use on leather, and leather is a great material to use for this project. So just finish cutting all around my outer fabric. So remember, I did a chalk line first, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark my notches. So right at the top there's a little notch, and that's the center where you're going to line up the center of your zip. I'm going to do a little snip, and then I'm going to snip the end of the dart legs. So there's two darts. I'm just going to snip the end of the dart legs, and then that makes it easier to match up later. I'm going to turn it over because I'm going to put some chalk marks in. I'm going to chalk mark the apex of my dart, but first I'm going to poke a little hole with a pin, place it on my fabric, get my chalk, and I'm going to put a little chalk mark in that hole. So now I know where my dart is, and I'm also going to chalk mark in where I'm going to put my snaps. So that's my snap placement. And now I'm going to do the chalk marks on this side. Because my snaps are only going to go on one side, I only need to mark in the dart placement on this one. So I'm marking in the point or the apex of the dart, and snipping in the dart legs. Right, now it's time to cut my lining fabric. This time what I'm going to do is pin. So I'm going to put that nicely on my fabric. It's folded over, so I'm cutting through 2 pieces of fabric, a double layer, and I'm going to pin my pattern to the fabric, and I'm going to use my scissors to cut around. So these are my big fabric scissors. My daughter stole my little ones, so I don't normally use these big ones, but I couldn't find my little fabric scissors today. It's a good idea to have some nice sharp fabric scissors, and don't let your children use them. So now I'm snipping in at the dart legs and snipping in the top centre. Now I'm just going to mark in my dart apexes, or the pointy bit of my darts, take my pattern piece off because I need to turn it around, and do it on the other side as well. So I'm marking in these chalk markings on the wrong side of the fabric, so the fabric that doesn't have the pattern on it. So there you go. Now I'm just going to snip 2 squares of interfacing, and I'm going to iron those on to the wrong side of my outer pieces where my snaps are going to go. So I put those 2 chalk marks on before, and I'm going to place that little square of interfacing over those chalk marks and iron them on. Then I'm going to go back, get my chalk, put those little dots on there again. Even though the snap is going to be on the front of the fabric, I'm going to do all my holes from the back. Trial and error, I've figured out it's easy to go from the back. So I've just lined my snap up, and I'm using my seam ripper to make a little hole and then another little hole where I want my snap to be, where those snap posts line up. Now I'm going to put that one on the bottom, the flat one, pop it through the holes very gently. Just see it. Didn't do a very good job of videoing that bit. And then I'm going to pop that over and then press it down. So those little poles are going to be pressed down. There we go. You can also put another piece of interfacing over the top if you like. Some people like to stitch a bit of fabric over the top, but for this one I'm just going to leave it like that. The interfacing and the fabric will be enough. Now I'm going to flip it back over, get the other side of the snap, line it up with my hole, find the spot where the posts go through, cut a little tiny hole with my seam ripper, and that's through the interfacing and the fabric. Get the other side and pop it through. Get the circular disc with the holes, pop it through and bend them down, and that's all there is to it. Now you've finished your snaps. The next video we're going to be doing the darts, so stay tuned.